Alright guys, welcome back for part 2 of cutting hay. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to have to rake the hayfield, all that freshly cut hay, rake it into what's called windrows, or windrows, if you're reading it off of a piece of paper or whatever. But the real people around here call them windrows, which is just basically rows of hay that then is easily going to go into the baler, and the baler can then make it into the bale. And what I use here, is what's called a roller bar. This is a New Holland 256 roller bar, and what it does is it moves the hay from one side of it to the other side and then puts it into a nice row. And the way it does it is right here. It's got these big wheels on it, and they're driven off of the axle and from the tires moving, and there's a latch right over on this side. You set that latch, it engages it's got kind of a transmission on it, and then it will, through the drive shafts along the axle there, and coming out of the tires, it'll drive this bar. And when you have that hooked up to the tractor, you just want to lower it down using these. And you want to lower it down equally on both sides, until those little tines are just barely touching the ground all the way across the bar. And that's when you know you're good to go. There was a couple things in the last video that I noticed. I called my hay cutter something. Anyways, it's a New Holland 451. This one is a 256. And the speed that you're going to want to run both your sickle cutter and this machine here is about 12 to 15 miles an hour, somewhere in there. Both of them like to run kind of quickly through the field, and as fast as you can. I need to start bringing a weapon out here. I've got hogs. I had a mama and some baby hogs up by the house. And they were not happy. They aren't the friendly creatures you see in the cartoons. They'll come up and they'll gore you, and they're trying to protect their babies and all that. Okay, where was I? Yeah, 12 to 15 miles an hour. We're going to do that today. I've got some other stuff to do up at the house, so we're going to run through all the other equipment. And when it comes to the actual baling of the hay, what I like to do is I'll rake it after it's been curing. Okay, so there's another thing, curing. Sorry to get off topic there. So the hay's got to cut in the field for at least, about a day. Down here in Texas, it's, if we've got low humidity and temperatures above 80 degrees, it's typically, half a day, and then I will rake. And when you rake, you want to rake it into a row on one side, flip around, come down the other side, and rake it into the row. So you got two widths of this rake into one row. And that's how I like to do it for the square baler. You like to have consistent rows, meaning, it starts with the field being consistent, and then your rows end up being consistent speed on the tractor. That's how you make consistent rows, and consistent rows equals consistent bales. If it's not, if you got like clumps of your field that's more hay than the other, and you've got, more hay in that windrow, you're going to need to slow the tractor down and speed it up based on how much hay is in that windrow. And we'll go over setting up the baler and how to get the proper weight and length on your bales and all that stuff. Okay, I think we got everything. Oh yeah, cured. So it cures in the field for a half a day, and then we rake. So then it cures for the rest of the day in those rows, and then the next morning I'll do the baling. And the reason I do that, I could come and bale it, basically get done with the rows, bale it right behind there, and then pick it up the next day. The key is there, though, with picking it up, is right behind the baler. And that way the ants and the spiders and the this and that, whatever's in your field that's going to be bitey, stays out of those bales. They don't have time to move in. If you leave those bales sitting overnight, you're going to have fire ants, and everything that was in your field taking cover in that nice thick hay is now going to rush into those bales, and then you've got to deal with that all day. So bale it right in front of however you're picking it up. So Alright, next piece of equipment on the list is going to be our New Holland square baler. And this is a wire tie square baler. It is going to be Pt2 driven. And the way it hooks up is basically with a hitch onto your drawbar. Hook up your Pt2, take your jack up off of it. There's a toe and a bale setting on here on this machine's drawbar. And it has a swivel right here. So that swivel needs to be set to where it can bale. You're going to drop the latch in the rear, and then you're just going to drop your pickup from this side here. So that's going to be right along the ground, and it's going to be scooping up that hay as it goes along. A couple other things. There's a couple different types of balers. There's one with like an auger type. This one has forks that move that hay into the bale chamber, and the bale chamber is right here, and then it's got a big ram that is packing that hay into the bale chamber. Going that way, right? And we'll get in there and take a little bit closer look out of that. That's basically it. You kick it on, and it is going to automatically do what it needs to do. Before you do that, though, we'll take a look a little bit closer and see how you set up for that first bale, and then how to adjust based on the weight of maybe the second or third bale. I usually wait till the second or third bale. That's when you got your knotters set, you've got your wire set or your twine, and that's going to be the more consistent bale. So let's get in there and we'll look at this baler a little closer. Alright, so here's our ram, and it's got this big flywheel in the front of it here. And you can see as that flywheel turns, that ram goes to moving back and forth. And this right here is what's going to control your forks feeding that hay in there. So as that ram comes back, the forks are feeding in hay, and then the ram goes to pushing back in, and then it packs that down into the bale chamber. So that's just kind of how that works. This first bale, and what I've done here is set the wire, had it make that first knot with a little bit of hand there, and after it's made that first knot, this is what regulates right here, this wheel, how long the bales are, right? So as that bale and that hay is rolling through there, this wheel is moving, and then this arm is moving, right? That arm will move up until it reaches the spot where it's going to make that knot and set off that ratcheting mechanism to bring those tines up, feed the wire up through the hay, and then the knotters go to working. At the same time there, the ram is in between strokes. So it is not going to ram against those tines as they come up into there. And there's a safety on there to make sure that doesn't happen. But you want to set this wheel so it just needs a little bit of hay, and then it's going to make that second set of knots. And then from there on out, you should have good bales. So that first bale is going to be kind of a throwaway. Use it for your doghouse or whatever. But that's basically what we do here. And then after about 3 bales, you're going to check the weight of the bale and the length of the bale. If that needs to be adjusted, there's a little adjuster right here. And that is how you adjust where it's going to make, or how it sets the length. So this little thing right here and this mechanism, along with this, sets the length of the bale. And then these right here set the weight of the bale. How much force is being pressed down onto those bales. So the ram is packing against basically pressure from this to make that bale the right weight. So that's basically it. When we're in the field here, it's going to be hectic. I've got people coming over. Thank God I got one of my customers coming over to pick up some hay out of the field. So I'm going to be hot and heavy on this tractor and baler. I don't know how much footage I'm going to get or be able to get of me actually hooking up, doing all this stuff on the day of. On the day of, it's hectic. Like I said, I mean, you've got people coming over. I used to do it with my wife. She would drive the truck. I would drive or I would be on the trailer. But it got so bad with the ants and the, different things that move into the bales. I like to do it right behind. So I got a little bit of help now. Getting older, getting pudgier. All right, let's take a look at the hay loader. What that is. Alright, so the last thing on our list of hay equipment that we need is a hay loader. Unless you've got people running off either side of the trailer and throwing the bales into the trailer, and then one person stacking on the trailer. This thing right here makes it basically a two-person job with a person driving the truck and a person on the trailer. And this is in what's called its tow mode right now, so it's laying down. Normally the bales are feeding out of this, and it is set up the other direction. You can see over here, this thing up here, going this way and down there, that's the chute where the bales are going to come in, come through this, and then elevate up through it, because it'll be laying down on this thing, and then it will lay off to the side, and initially it'll be for the person on the trailer way up high, but as you get those layers of hay in there, all of a sudden you're grabbing from you know, at your knees and at your waist, and it just makes going through the field really, really easy. And it's driven off of the wheels, so you don't need hydraulics on your tractor for any of this equipment, which is why I kind of started going with the old school. I had that old John Deere here when I bought the property, and initially when I bought the property, I had one of my neighbors come up and who does hay and say, you know, can I bale your field on the halves with you? And I said, man, I'm really not, you know, I didn't buy this place to be a farmer. You know, I bought this place just to have land and, you know, build a home and things like that. And he said, man, the old man that had this place, he worked really hard to get that hay field set up and sprigged with some really good horse hay. And he said it'd be a shame, you know, if you didn't maintain it and keep it up. And so that's kind of what I've been working towards, getting all this equipment after working with him on, you know, baling it and talking to him on what equipment I would need and things like that. But yeah, this thing, I didn't understand what the heck they were talking about, a hay loader that had an elevator that would lift it up and set it onto the trailer. And I'll try to get some footage of this, especially in the field, because this is one of the more it's a simple machine. It's just got a chain with some tines sticking out of the chain that runs it up through this system here, and it's got kind of a bale chamber of its own here. But like I said, it's going to be hot and heavy tomorrow during the hay, both baling and pickup. I might be able to get a drone up in the air to run around and look at some stuff, and hopefully that's the case. I don't know if I'll be able to do too much as far as going through all this stuff while I'm on the baler and trying to run the crew and all that stuff. But we'll see how it goes, and hopefully you'll see some drone footage coming up. What a day. That's what man time's all about, right? Getting the job done, doing the work. It was a super tough day in the field, super tough. Everything just happened so fast. I didn't have a chance to really film much of the hay raking or the baling. I'm on the tractor. I had to walk back and of course get to the tractor, so I didn't carry all this stuff with me, but raked the next day after the cut, and then the next morning we started the baling, and I had my crew show up. I had a customer show up. They brought people. They were filling up 2 trailers worth, and it was just crazy. I did manage to get the drone up. You saw some of the footage there. The guys were struggling a little bit with that hay loader, trying to get those bales. Once you get to the 5th or 6th row on that trailer, and you're walking around and the trailer's moving around and trying to stack those bales and get them to stay on the trailer is a little bit of a chore. I use the Mahindra to pull that baler because I do have some spots in my field where the hay isn't as thick, and then in the bottom it's a little bit thicker. And in order to maintain a consistent bale, you need to adjust your speed of your tractor. So those windrows are going to be heavier down in the lower parts for my field, and then lighter up on the sides of it. And so I've got to slow down as I get to the lower spots, and then speed back up as I get to the higher spots while maintaining RPMs. So to do that, you need gearing. And that old John Deere has got like 4 gears. It originally had 8, but the linkage system they put on there is just a nightmare. So it's down to 4, and I think 2 reverses where it had 8 and 4 before. So it doesn't really give me the opportunity to speed up and slow down to the speed where I'm going to keep consistent bales. And that's one of the main reasons I got a new tractor, Mahindra, so it have more of those choices for speed. But yeah, we ended up getting the job done. The people that came over and got some of the hay out of the field was a real blessing, and we made it through. We toughed it out. It was hot. This was one of the hottest weekends we've had, over 90 degrees, but it was dry all weekend, and worked out really good. We had to wait a little bit, so pro tip here, wait until the morning dew dries off of that hay before you go to baling, before you go to try to use the loader and all that stuff. That morning dew is going to act the same as wetness in the hay, and it's not going to cure right, it's not going to bale right, it's not going to pick up right, everything else. So again, keeping the consistency in the bales, you need it dry and kind of the average level of dryness. It got a little drier throughout the day there, but I'm able to bale that field, and it might have been 4 hours or so. And it's about a 20-acre field, and typically I'll get maybe 400 bales a cut. This first cut, obviously, a little bit less, lighter bales with that straw in there. The Bermuda grass hasn't come in quite as thick yet, so I only ended up getting about 300 on this first cut, but I'm expecting 400 and 400 after that. And yeah, we did it. Still got a little bit of hay in the barn. The guys ended up making out pretty good. I pay just a daily rate, whether we pick up 100 or 400 or whatever it is. I said, so remember this in the end of July when we have our second cut coming. You guys had an easy day today. Middle of the summer, I want you back here where you actually earn your money. Oh boy. Okay, well that's it. How to bale hay, part 2. Hay's in the barn, and nobody got hurt, and none of the equipment failed after the cutter. And a matter of fact, I didn't break one bale. And what happens when you'll break a bale, that knotters will go up and it'll break the wire, and then you'll have like hay just kind of like coming out of the back of the baler, and you've got to get in there, cut the wire, reset it, pull all the hay out of there, get all the wire off of the hay that's misbaled, and then run back over that, and it's just a nightmare. And thank goodness that didn't happen. So it was a good day out in the field. Thanks for joining me today on Man Time, guys. Get out there, have you some man time too.